Valerie. I teach English as a second language, which means I teach pronunciation, grammar, reading, writing. Well, I teach at a community college, and that means that most of the students are adults working. They have full-time jobs, part-time jobs, families, other commitments, and one thing that really is difficult for them is balancing their outside commitments with their schoolwork. And many of them are very earnest, hardworking, but they're just stretched in so many directions. And it's difficult for them to have a work schedule that doesn't change. It's difficult for them to be at every class when there's tests. It's difficult for them to meet with teachers during office hours. So scheduling is a factor that I think impedes their progress. Well, I think that part of your first question is what was an encumbrance to their learning is that they don't use it. They just don't use enough English outside of class. Many of them live in their same language communities. They speak with their family in their first languages, and they don't practice English. And so, we all know that practice makes perfect, and that fluency comes with lots of practice, lots of repetition. And part of it also involves bad habits. So practicing incorrect structures can become ingrained, can become fossilized, and that can be a impediment to fluency too, because they learn certain strategies for communicating, and they're not necessarily correct ones, and they don't get past that. Well, I encourage them by creating the dynamics and the assignments that will require that they practice with the language, that they maybe meet native speakers, that they do interviews, that they have contact assignments outside of class, and that in class they have to interact with students who don't share their first language. So that's the challenge of teachers, to find those kind of creative situations that are going to elicit their interest so that they'll use English. Well, I think that a lot of the nuts and bolts haven't changed in terms of the grammar is still pretty much the way it used to be, but the technology has changed, and it is offering students more options to do online work. For example, there's a lot of pronunciation software that allows students to record their own voices, listen to their accents, self-correct, check their own pronunciation against a model. And there's lots of online websites and other technologies that allow them to do work and have it corrected. They don't need a teacher to correct it, and there's a lot more self-correction that can go on with the technology that's available. To me, they're key, because language learning is a communicative act, and for students to be invested and engaged, they have to feel that they're part of something bigger, and interacting with people, sharing ideas, learning from other people. That's what really broadens their horizons and helps them as language learners.